You're now tuned in to the Simple Investor Radio Show with author and investment advisor Prince Dykes, where we talk about grand advice for the common investor.
Once again, everybody, welcome to the Investor Show. As always, this is your host, Prince Dykes, coming to you guys with another great, awesome podcast. Hope you guys been enjoying the podcast and stuff like that. But like always, I have a very, very special guest with me here today. We have Mr. Dr. Lionel King. He's a physician, best-selling author, which his book is I'm holding right now. He's, started his own practices and done all sorts of great things with entrepreneurship and seeing on CNN, NBC, all sorts of good stuff. But as always, I don't have a lot of time. I definitely know you guys don't have a lot of time. So we're just going to jump straight into it. So today's topic is, pretty much investing into your health. Some people say, hey, why do you have a medical doctor? You never done this before and stuff like that. But our health is something that is very important to us. And by reading his book, Mastering Fertility, and the several simple steps, by me picking it up, I haven't gotten all the way through it yet, but just by going through it, and I'm still working on it, me and my wife are sitting down going through it ourselves, I saw a lot of great things. And even his 7th step was talking about, investing into yourself and stuff like that. And that's why I reached out to him. I'm so glad he's here today. But without further ado, Mr. King, how you doing today?
I am fantastic. Thank you for having me on the show. I love what you're doing.
Okay. Thank you. Definitely appreciate it. And, you're such an inspiration because some people that I was speaking with, I know that are going through medical school and going through dental school and out there, doing all sorts of great things. And they were really intrigued and wanted to hear from you of starting their own practice and getting into, like I saw in here, you were saying it took you 20 years to pay off your student loans out of
student loans. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and you just
talking about
making that type of investment. Oh yeah, right. Exactly.
Right. Well, I really commend you on your forward thinking and bringing me on the show to talk about your most valuable investment, because it really is yourself. When you are an entrepreneur, everything, not only your finances, but the finances of all your employees, the finances of everyone that depends on you, is dependent upon the decisions that you make every single day. And so, whenever I'm investing in a company or whenever I'm hiring someone, the first thing that I look at is, what is the state that they're in? Because if they get sick, if they go into the hospital, or if something happens and their health breaks down, then where does that leave me, right? And so it's extremely important that you want to make sure that your health is the top priority, because it affects not only your physical health, right? But it also affects your mental health. And you know this, if you're not on the top of your game, if you don't have like a clear mind, if you are not pain free, if you don't have this pain that's weighing on you, if you don't have the energy that you need to take on the big challenge of entrepreneurship, you might as well just get a job.
That is true. That is very true.
Right? Get a job with some good benefits and good, some health insurance, because you're going to need it, right? But entrepreneurship is not the way to go if you're not taking care of your health.
And I want to ask you this question so people know who they're speaking with. Tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are and where you're from and how you got to this point so far in your life.
Well, so my name is Dr. Lionel King. I grew up in Alabama, right? I was born in Los Angeles, but my dad wanted to get me out of the inner city because it didn't feel like it was a great place to, for an African-American boy to grow up. And so when I was 10 years old, my dad picked up and moved our whole family to Alabama, of all places, right? And so it's like, this is safer for an African American boy to grow up. I'm like hearing all the horror stories and stuff like that. It was crazy, but it actually was. We had our own hogs, chicken, ducks, geese, turkeys. It was like Noah's Ark. We grew our own vegetables, the whole thing. But we lived that Southern lifestyle and ate all the Southern fried food and things of that nature. So it doesn't matter how many vegetables you're eating if you're frying it and covering it with all type of, gravies and sauces and stuff like that, right? And so I thought we were living healthy. Until, one day when I was in residency, I did my residency at Johns Hopkins. I'm an internal medicine traditionally trained physician. Went to medical school, University of Wisconsin, and did my residency at Johns Hopkins. And when I was in Johns Hopkins, my mom called me and said that my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And so that was like a blow, because anyone in the medical field knows pancreatic cancer comes with a 4-month death sentence. And my dad had never been sick. Yeah, he was a little bit overweight, but he had never been sick in his life. I think he was only on one blood pressure medication, and that was it. And so I thought my dad was going to live forever, and here at 63 years old, he, diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and given 4 months to live. So I flew home, and I had to have the hardest conversation that I've ever had in my life. And that's to tell my mom and dad what that meant, because they had no idea what the doctor had just told them, And so I asked my dad, I said, Pop, what do you want to do? He says, well, I'm not going to just lay down and die. That's the type of type of man my dad was. He says, we're going to fight the thing. So, we got the best surgeon, we got the best oncologist, and he had this horrendous surgery called a Whipple procedure. And he was in the hospital a month. And during that month, I saw my dad wither away to nothing, confused on morphine, completely, couldn't work, again. And my mom, we had a country convenience store. My mom and dad were entrepreneurs themselves. They had their own store, but plus they had jobs as well. Well, my dad had a job. And so my mom had to take over running the store while my dad was sick. And so then after a month, the doctor said, well, we got the whole mass, but there's likely still cancer cells, and recommended chemo. And my dad was like, no way, I've suffered enough. Plus chemo wasn't really shown to work with pancreatic cancer anyway. So he said, I just want to go home. So we got him home, and I said, so Pop, what do you want to do? He says, well, I still want to fight this thing. I don't know what to do. So I did some research, and I found the Optimum Health Institute in San Diego, and I enrolled us both there for 2 weeks. We were only able to be there a week because my dad's lungs started filling up with malignant fluid filled with cancer cells. He was literally drowning from the inside out. So I had to rush him home, put a chest tube in him. But during that 1 week that we were there, I learned more about health, more about vitality, more about nutrition, more about how we're supposed to eat, like truly supposed to eat, right? How, like the mind-body connection. I learned more about that in that 1 week than I did the 4 years in medical school and the years I had spent at Johns Hopkins in residency. And it wasn't that they were great programs. They're awesome programs, but they focused on disease care rather than focusing on true health and vitality. So it was at that time that I made the decision that I'm not going to let anyone else die or suffer from lack of knowledge. And so that's kind of really what brought me to the point where I am today through a long journey. I had started up, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started up multiple medical groups, sold them for a lot of money. And even at that point, I was like, what's next? I wasn't fulfilled because I wasn't really living, my dream and my passion that I promised myself that I was going to do. And even I had let my own health slip a little bit. I was like 30 pounds overweight, back pain, because I was just in the grind, right? And it got to the point where I didn't want to do it anymore. I was literally looking at retiring. I was 40 years old saying, you know what am I doing all this for? Let me retire. And so then I did a whole year of personal development. I went to Tony Robbins. I went to India on 2 different spiritual journeys. And then I turned my whole life around, got to I lost the 30 pounds, got rid of the back pain, feeling the best ever. Like my mental clarity was on point. And then that's when I started my next journey, wrote the book, Mastering Vitality. It went #1 bestseller. And then now I travel the world speaking on vitality. I have, my own, I have coaches that work for me. And now rather than spending the first 15 years of my career putting people on medications, now I'm spending the rest of my career taking them off.
Oh, okay. And you made a very valid point when you said, that was a very amazing story, by the way. Definitely got to give you a round of applause on that, with your dad and turning that into a story of, then your reason of why,
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things is, like I was saying on one of my last episodes about when we look at, like in the financial industry, we take cars pretty much like a mechanic, right? If you took a car to a mechanic and the engine was busted, and the reason why the engine was busted is because you never put oil in it, then
Mm-hmm.
people wonder why you never put oil in this car, and that person, they just never knew. And that's how the financial
Mm-hmm.
industry is. They never ask why this person never put oil in the car, and they just fix the car. So,
Right.
and it's interesting that you said that, hey, instead of just treating diseases, we're figuring out how do you get down that road of disease. And you're 100% right. I'm a workaholic. Like right now it's 5 o'clock in the morning here in Hawaii. And I've been up a couple hours before this, and this is just getting my day started. But it's just part of the grind. And then sometimes you just put your health to the side to where, you just eat on the go, eat whatever you can at the moment, you eat on convenience.
Mm-hmm.
You get to working so much, you don't even work out like you're supposed to, like you should. And, everything is just coming out of, processed foods and stuff like that. And you kind of negate your health sometimes when that's your most important asset to have.
Absolutely.
Is your health.
Right. And just forgetting about health. Like, just talk about performance. You made a very good point. You're grinding. You have a mission, and so you're performing at a level that most people don't perform. Right. And so you and your body, like, being able to get up at 3 a.m, being able to do your business, and then go to and serve at your your day job, and then take care of your family and your kids, right? You probably between your business and military and your family, you got 3-4 jobs, right? And so you're performing at a high level, right? And your body is like a Lamborghini. And it can perform as hard as you drive it and as fast as you drive it. But the issue is, if anyone that's had a high performance car, when they pull up to the gas station, what is the goal that they have? The goal is to put in high performance gas, right? You would never put in regular gasoline in a Lamborghini, a Porsche, some type of high performance vehicle. You would never even put regular gas in. Now imagine if you put sugar water in the tank. Imagine if you put contaminated gas in the tank. Imagine if you put gas with a whole bunch of air in the tank. You would cringe. Yet what do we do to our bodies? We put the cheapest, the fastest, and the crappiest food in our body, but yet we wonder why we can't perform at the levels that we want to perform at. We wonder why we can't make the money that we want to make. We wonder why we don't have the motivation and the energy and the drive to do what it takes to get us and our families to where we want, financially. We wonder why we can't perform. And it's because we're fueling our bodies with crap.
That's a valid point.
And we've even conditioned our mind that feeling like crap is a good thing. Perfect example, Thanksgiving dinner. Thanksgiving dinner, you stuff yourself, you're eating all this quote unquote great food, and you literally fall on the couch, you unbuckle your top button of your pants, your stomach's full, you barely can move, right? And you're just feeling tired and you want to go to sleep. And then you associate that feeling with what? Whoa, that was a great meal.
It's true.
Right? Now imagine if you drove your high performance car to the gas station and you filled it up all the way to the top, and all your car wanted to do was take a nap and pull over and rest and say, man, that was some good gas.
That's a very good metaphor that you put that. Hey,
right.
You're a Lamborghini and you wouldn't put sugar water in the tank,
Exactly.
And how you should be, after I read this one time and it was just like, you made a very valid point. When you eat, me coming from Georgia, like you said, all the sauce and the gravy and the sweet stuff and the, quote unquote good eating, and and we would always, you get tired and fall asleep. They'd be like, oh, that's because you ate good. And I thought I associated as a child growing up is, hey, if I'm tired and sluggish after I eat, it's because I ate good. And it's really because you probably ate bad.
Absolutely.
And your body can't process what you just did to it.
Absolutely.
And I'm kind of like, wow, it is like, when you eat something, you shouldn't feel drowsy. You should be ready to go. It should give you energy. It should, and I was like, wow, I just never thought about it that way.
Right. Because we are fueling our bodies. Food is fuel. We use it as fuel and we use it to heal our bodies as well. Right. And so that should be our focus. And so we need to pay attention to how we feel after we eat. Anyone that goes through my programs and all my clients, the first thing they say after 2 weeks is, oh my God, I cannot believe how much energy I have. I can't believe how great I feel. And it's all because now they're eating in a way that's fueling their body and they're energizing their body. Their mental clarity is there. They're sharper. They're making better decisions. They're able to get up without an alarm clock. They're able to, not be tired come 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And if you notice, high-powered CEOs, they're not fat and happy. We have this image that, these rich people are fat and happy. They're not fat and they're not happy. The people that are these high-level CEOs they are precisely tuned machines. They pay attention to what they eat. Their energy levels are off the charts. They're very clear as far as their mental thinking, and they have a very specific regimen that they do every day. And that is the only reason, it just wasn't luck. They just didn't luck up and become wealthy. They didn't just luck up and build, a $1 billion company. They had to take care of their self because it is your body and mind that is your tool. A carpenter's tool is a hammer. An entrepreneur's tool is their mind and body.
Very true. There's 2 things I want to get into that I've seen. What you were saying, like someone who's tuning in now, even with myself, I'm like, man, I need to get better with my health and stuff like that, and things that you said, right? Now, one thing that I was saying that you said, when you were saying dieting doesn't work, could you expound on that?
Absolutely. So what is the purpose of a diet?
I would say, to correct what you've been doing wrong, stop putting that sugar water in there and try to, have that goal, or maybe, you put your little, this is my weight, or this is my goal weight, and I'm going to substitute these type of things. Instead of eating this, I'm going to eat that or whatever.
Right. Okay. So there's 2, exactly. So there's 2 definitions of diets, right? So the first thing is like the technical definition. Everyone's on a diet. You can have a diet of chicken, waffles, and donuts, right? That's a diet.
True.
And so everyone has a diet. Whatever you eat, that is the definition of your diet. And so anytime that you want to make changes in your health, you have to change your diet. Okay, so that's the technical, definition of diet. Now, the American way of thinking about dieting is something that you do. You go on a diet to lose weight. Okay, and the reason why that does not work is because of the fact that you're denying yourself calories and you're eating in a way that's painful for temporary gain. So you're doing something temporary for a temporary result. So anytime someone says, "Oh, I'm going to go on a diet," they're not changing their diet. They're not changing their lifestyle. What they're going to do is they're going to go on some 20-day detox or some 30-day fad diet or what have you, so that they can get into that dress or so that they can get into those pants that they want to get in. And as soon as they hit that weight goal, then, or as soon as they give up, then they get off of it. And so, oh, thank God I made it. Now I can stop this horrible diet. So the reason why diets don't work is because it's not focused on long-term goals. The focus of most diets are temporary weight loss. And so most people, when they diet, they will lose some weight. They usually lose about half their goal. So if your goal is 40 pounds and you go on a diet to lose 40 pounds, typically what happens is you'll lose 20 pretty easily. And then the last 20 is damn near impossible because, your friends are starting to tell you, "Oh, girl, you look good," or, "Why are you still, you're thin enough. You're going to waste away." Now you're looking better than most of your friends, right? Because most people hang around friends that look like them. And so then, I deserve to eat what I want to eat, da, 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 da. And so they get to half their goal, then they start eating again, then it gets away from them, and then they gain the 20 pounds back, then some. And losing and gaining weight is actually more unhealthier. It's a lot unhealthier than not losing it at all. Because when you lose weight and then gain weight, you're gaining a lot of visceral fat, which is fat around the organs, and that's what causes a lot of the diseases, right? And so that's not, and it's harder to get off. So that yo-yo dieting is very unhealthy. So that's really the reason why dieting doesn't work. I was on like multiple diets. I went through this. When I was 30 pounds overweight, I would get down to, I would lose 20 pounds and then I'm looking good and I'm like, all right, I'm good now. And then I'll gain it back. Then, some chick will tell me that I'm fat and then I would get motivated and get it off again, and I was doing it for the wrong reasons. I was mainly doing it for vanity reasons. Okay. And looking good is great. It builds up your confidence, especially as an entrepreneur. You make more money if you feel confident about yourself. So there's nothing wrong with doing it for vanity. But if you're only doing it for vanity, then that's when you get on these whole fad diets that aren't necessarily adding to your health. When you do something where you're changing how you look at food and you change your lifestyle, you change your habits, you change your rituals, then it becomes something that you enjoy. So I tell everybody, I'm a seafood eater. So people ask me, are you a vegetarian? Are you vegan? Plant-based, blah, blah, blah. I said, I have a seafood diet, right? I eat whatever I see, right? I eat whatever I want because I don't want the same things anymore. If you put fried chicken in front of me, that fried chicken is like my biggest weakness in life. Right? If you put fried chicken in front of me,
I would have never guessed that.
You put fried chicken in front of me, you best believe I'm going to eat some. Okay? So what's the difference between me now and me 30 pounds ago is before I would have ate the whole bucket. Now I'm going to eat 1, 2 wings maybe because I associate pleasure with the taste of it because of my childhood growing up. And I don't want to deny myself that. So I'll eat 1 or 2 pieces, but that's it because I don't want to eat it. I don't want to fuel my body with it, but I do want to taste it. And that's a big difference. And so I'll eat a big multicolored salad and fuel my body with a lot of greens and vegetables and steamed vegetables and healthier options. And, if I'm going to eat some meat, maybe I'll eat some lean fish or whatever. I'm going to fuel my body with that. And I'm just going to taste that piece of pie, or I'm just going to taste that piece of chicken, or I'm just going to taste the other stuff, because I don't want to fill my body with that crap.
Because that is true. When you eat that first, you usually fill your body full of fried stuff, then you eat the veggies last. You just, okay. Just so you know, like, I got some veggies. That's a good way of looking at it. If you fill your body full of the good stuff first, you become full off of that. Then you go to the things of guilty pleasure, then, you don't have a whole lot of room because you're already full off of what's good for you.
Right.
That's a good way of looking at it as well. So what recommendations, like someone who's listening now, so I'm going to ask two more before I jump into that. I do want to cover this topic as well.
There's some static or something that I'm hearing. Are you hearing that static?
I don't hear the static. 1 second.
There it is. That's perfect. It went away.
Okay. All right.
You're good now.
Clear. All right. So, like you just said about, let's look at the business side, right? Like you said, hey, I graduated school, and now that when I got out of school, I started going to the, you built these groups, right? And you went off and sold them for a lot of money. So when you have someone on that end that's going through medical school or dental school or any type of school, law, anything like that, and they're going into building their own practice, how would you recommend hearing your building the value into where someone else will want to purchase it and buy it?
Oh, that's easy. So, it's just whether it's a medical practice or any business, it doesn't really matter. You want to build it to where it has value. That's the bottom line. And it has to have value. It has to have value despite you. So where a lot of physicians make mistakes is that everything depends on them, because they have what I call an ego-based practice. So if they don't show up, then there's no value. You can't sell that. The only thing that you're able to sell is something that has its own intrinsic value. So what I did was my medical practices, I hired other physicians, and I had contracts with other hospitals. And so the value was in the physicians that worked for the company and the contracts that the company held with the hospitals. So now when I step out of the picture, the value's still there because it's not based on my work. So what most physicians, the mistake that they make is that basically they've created a situation where they're just self-employed. They don't have a true business. They're just self-employed. So when they don't show up, money's not being made. No one's going to buy that. So if you're a lawyer, an accountant, something like that, where you're basically trading your services for money, unless you develop a team and a system and hire others to perform that service, you don't have a sellable asset.
Got it, because it's like I would equate it to being a barber, to if you're just a barber by yourself and you cut hair, you get paid. But if you're not standing up cutting hair, you don't get paid. So how could I buy it versus if you went out and hired other barbers and you have a full barbershop and it's self-sufficient, it's an entity now that other barbers come in, they provide a service, yada yada, then you could sell that. Am I correct on that metaphor, Lewis?
That is a perfect metaphor. So once you hire all the barbers and now you're making money with that, whether you cut hair or not, now the next thing that you have to do is you have to know your numbers. Because if I'm an investor and I come in, I'm like, I'm going to buy this barbershop. I want to know how much the barbershop nets. I don't care about how much it grosses. I want to know how much it nets every single month, because that is going to determine the value, and that's going to determine how much I'm going to buy it. So I might buy from multiple of 3 or multiple of 4, but what is that multiple of? So you got to know your numbers. And so if that barbershop is losing money, right? If you hired all these people and it's just barely paying the rent, and now you have to work to make money because it's not really sustainable because you're paying too much in overhead and you're not making enough on the chairs, right? The barber chairs. Then any investor that looks at the books is like, well, as soon as you stop working, this is in the negative. It's not worth anything. So you have to make sure that you're net positive as far as cash flow is concerned. And once you're net positive cash flow, now you have a sellable asset. So there's 2 things, just to review, there's 2 things that you need to do. Is you need to make it independent of you, and it has to be net positive. And once you have that, you have a sellable entity.
Got it. Makes perfect sense. And, I hope that our listeners, from around the world that tune in and that'll check out this podcast later and stuff like that are in school or that already have their own practice. And, like you said, that goes for barbers, accountants, lawyers, anybody that has their own entity that, one of the objective is to factor themselves out of the equation. Because when someone goes and buy your company, then you're going to be factored out of the equation anyway. So what you're drawing in will probably be gone. So that's very good for industries across. That's just business, across the board. That's a good piece there. Now, that you got the business side. I wanted to, kind of switch it up, segue into the health side, right? So someone who's listening. And someone, who's like, what, he has a good point. I'm an entrepreneur. I need to take my health. Or some people are inspiring entrepreneurs, inspiring investors, inspiring whatever they want to do. And that's one of the things you always hear people say, hey, you need grind, you need guts, you need this, you need that. But you never hear anybody say you need health. You rarely hear somebody saying, hey, get up every day and, cleanse the body and do this and do that. Everybody's saying, hey, get up early in the morning, go to sleep late at night, grind. You need guts, you need to be smart, master your craft. But you never hear anyone say, master your health, take your health first. And that is your most important asset. So what advice out there would you give that new or that inspiring entrepreneur or that person who's already an entrepreneur, who's already successful, who's, like you said, when you sold your companies and, here you are and you're kind of thinking about yourself at 30 pounds over and, you went through this transformation of going to see these different speakers and going to these different venues and vacations. What would be some steps you would give that person who wants to start to master their vitality?
Yeah. So step number 1 is make it a priority. Put it first before everything else. Because if you are not, I'm just going to put it out there. A lot of people are not going to like this statement, but if you are overweight, then you're losing credibility and you're losing trust. Okay? Because if you cannot master your most important business, and that is your personal business, okay? If you get in the car with someone, for instance, perfect example, right? If you pitch me and say you're going to manage my portfolio, and I'm like, man, this guy has it together. He talks a good game, and he seems very knowledgeable and intelligent, and he's gonna master my portfolio. And then we go to lunch, and you're like, you know what? I got it. I'm gonna drive. I get in your car, and your car's a mess. There's papers thrown all over the place. It's junky. There's like empty Coke cans, on the floor. That deal is shot. There's no way in hell I'm letting you manage my portfolio. Why? What does your car have to do with my finances? Well, instantly, I'm going to say, if this dude can't take care of his car, if he can't keep his car orderly, I'm damn sure not going to let him, manage my finances. Well, your physical body is the same thing. And so people that are overweight, short of breath, low energy, that plays in people's mind. It's just like, if he can't take care of his health, how's he going to take care of my money? So the first thing that you got to do is make it a priority. Second thing is you need to seek professional help and professional advice. If you are a professional and if you're an entrepreneur, you don't want people trying to do it on their own. The first thing that you're going to tell them is, don't try to do this on your own. I'm a professional. Let me manage your portfolio. You don't need to be managing it yourself. So how are you going to be congruent in that if you don't do the same thing in a field where you're not the expert? So you need to get a health coach, a personal trainer, a physician, someone that can get you where you need to be. And you need to invest in that, because how you run your life is what you're going to attract. And so if you're not investing in your health, how are you going to get someone to invest in their money with you, or in their, whatever it is that your industry does? And so you want to be a leader and say, this is something that I'm going to get professional help with, because I want to get it done, and I don't even want to have to think about it. I want to put it on autopilot. I want this done, right? If you're a high-level entrepreneur and your car breaks down, the last place you want to be is under the hood.
That's true.
Right? And so that's the second thing. So first thing, make a priority. Second thing, don't try to do it yourself. Third thing, look at everything that you're putting in your body and start asking yourself, what is the purpose of my food? Why am I eating? And if the answer is because it's in front of me, because it tastes good, because I'm bored, because I want to be social. If it's all of these reasons, or the majority, right? We all have those reasons, including myself. But if that's the majority of the reasons, then you want to change your why around eating to, I want to fuel my body and I want to heal my body. Just that alone, just that switch in mentality, you will start eating a lot healthier. So those are the 3 tips that I would say.
Okay, so the first thing I need to do is clean out my car. And, but you've been a very, very, and your appearance, like you say, your appearance means a lot. People say that, people think that, hey, it's a harsh reality. People will assume that you're lazy.
Right.
That you are, he doesn't care about this. How can I trust this person with that, or whatever the case may be? Or, hey, if I'm investing into this company, is this guy going to be around? Me only when I switch to hats and I put on the investor side, that's what I say. What if this person dies? What is going to happen? Does this person health like it can last? Is this someone who take care of themselves, or something? I mean, granted, things can happen. I mean, car accidents happen, plane crash, things happen. You have those incidents that happen, and
right.
Just by having the mindset of looking at that and saying, wow, that's the perception of what you think. So if you're in the public speaking profession, or if you're anything where you're anywhere, people look at that. And one of the major things that I do is, by having, people like yourself come in and make this available so people can hear and see this, is that's what a lot of people seek out. When they think of investing, the last thing, I never hear too many people say, hey, your health is one of the things you said, right? And that's one of the things I look at and I say, hey, by having the military background and been bred into it, is you have to think of your health, and that's one of the most disciplined things that you have out there. And sometimes when you get into that entrepreneurial grind, you see all of the, whether it's money, or whether it's helping other people, or whether it's self-gratification, and whatever you're doing to get there, one of the biggest things we neglect is the health. And that's a very good way that you put it in. a very good perspective you put in when people see you or whatever service you're providing. One of the first things they look at is your physical and your health, and saying that, hey, if this person's not disciplined enough to do this, how can I trust them to do something else? Because with me in business, I don't know if you can agree with this or not. One of the biggest things I look for is relationships more than anything else. I look to build relationships first. Okay, can I trust this person? Is this, or can I rely on them to do this? Because if I have to worry about every single service or every single thing, if I'm worried about if this person is going to be here and be there, then your life becomes way too stressful. So is this someone I can build a relationship? Is this someone I can trust and rely on? And someone who's going to be there, who's going to be disciplined like I need them to be in order for me to be able to go on and perform at another level. So that's very good. That's very good on the entrepreneur side, because I've seen a lot of people ask those questions of, maybe I want to build an entity one day and, maybe sell it or something like that. And you're speaking to someone who's not only done it once, but done it twice, and going to school. Now, when you look at like I saw in your book about, in step 7, going to 20 years of student loans and stuff like that, do you go back and look at school and look at anything on your path that you would change and say, hey, you know what? If I had a chance to do it again, I would have done that step? Or a big red flag you see people make?
Yeah, so that's a tricky question, because the answer is yes and no. So obviously, if I knew everything that I know now, obviously I would do things different, right? But it's the mistakes that we make, and not saying that going to school was a mistake, but even some of the things that clearly were mistakes, the bad business deals, the bad investments, starting businesses without a business plan and, not knowing, there's so many financial mistakes that I've made. So even looking at those, they all were kind of divinely given to me as gifts to shape me and to guide me into the person that I am right now. And so there's not really anything that I regret or that I would want to go back and change, because I believe that we learn more from our mistakes than we do our successes. And so as far as from a school standpoint, going to school is difficult. It's challenging. College is challenging. From a financial standpoint, it pushes you, it molds you. Graduate school, same thing. So those things really kind of get you prepared as a person to handle life, in my opinion. And so when you don't go through that, like for instance, ball players that go straight to pro from high school, they have a lot of challenges. There's a lot of money that they don't know. They don't have the maturity level to really deal with. Childhood actors, child prodigies, movie stars. They all have issues. They all have challenges, because anytime that you skip out on a lot of the trials and turmoils, just coming up with the grind, as you put it, it doesn't come without a price. So my advice is don't always look at what you think is the easy way out, because usually the easy way is not the right way. And the most expensive advice is the free advice, because the free advice is what causes you to lose money. The expensive advice is what gets you results.
Wow, that's a great way you put it. And and it goes back to what you said: investing into yourself. And one of the key things is you got to respect the process. But it's one of those things that when you look back on it, you say, "Wow, that makes sense why that happened." Or it's things that happen in life that I'm like, "Man, why did this happen? I made a mistake, or how did I get to this point?" I should have known this was going to come. But I look back and say, "You know what? That was meant to happen. That was supposed to happen." Had that not had happened, I wouldn't have learned this.
Right.
Some things happen at one level to prepare you for the next level. So it's the whole process of, like going through school, even with going through the your dad's ailments and his situation, how hearing how much it helped you and gained you on your process, and then going into business and going to school and business and paying the loans, and you just learn something from every process. That's why I love to talk to people who's been there, who check the box, been there, done that, and the older people, because they're the ones that says, "Hey, I I've been there before. It's nothing new up under the sun. I've seen there before." So they have a lot of advice and a lot of just life lessons and experience of things that, hey, you're going through this or whatever, or you're seeing this, or this is something you may see, and just respect the process that you have to go through. Don't try to, like one thing, like people love to diet and have a healthy lifestyle, but nobody wants to work out, or nobody wants the proper food and things like that that's required to go to it. So they'll do anything with, surgeries and stuff like that. Now, how do you feel about, it's like the new phenom these days, liposuction and breast reduction and implants and all that stuff like that? That seems to be
everyone wants the quick fix. Our whole culture is, how can I get it quick and fast? Everything that is really important to us now is quick and fast. Food, technology, it's like if my internet is slow, it aggravates me. Well, hell, we didn't even have internet. Like, the internet didn't even exist, when I was in college. And so now, if it's like a half a second slow, I'm aggravated. So we want everything like fast and now and quick, and health is the same thing. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. So how do I feel about liposuction? I don't have any problem with liposuction as long as you're doing the work. If you are eating properly, you're healthy as you can be, you're treating your body right, you're fueling your body right, there's nothing wrong with cosmetic surgery. There's nothing wrong with, getting your body to look the way that you want it. The technology's there. Use it. The issue that I have is people that come from McDonald's and Burger King and drive straight to the liposuction thinking that they're going to get that burger sucked off the side of the, gut. And they're using that to substitute for putting in the work, putting in the lifestyle change, right? Because there's nothing about liposuction that's going to make you healthy. It'll make your body look a certain way, but it's not going to make you healthier. And with the more invasive surgeries, like the lap bands and, all the gastric bypasses and things of that nature, if you don't change your eating habits first, and then you have those, you can get deathly ill, because you can't continue to eat the same way after having a major surgery like that.
Now, that was very good advice you gave on that front end, about the health side. Now, I wanted to tap into on the entrepreneur side. Now, what are some of the advice, or, like you would say, the pitfalls of the entrepreneur side, or the business side of the house, or advice you can give that entrepreneur that's tuning in? What would you give them? Or some of what you just notice, looking back and noticing around you and coming up and doing the things you've done, that you look and say, wow, this is a mistake I've kind of seen, or it's a mistake I've made that, that I would kind of change.
Peer group, number one. Get around people who make you feel uncomfortable, not comfortable. It's comfortable being the smartest dude in the room. That's comfortable, right? It's comfortable being the guy that has the most money in the room. It's comfortable being around people who look up to you. All of that is comfortable. It's comfortable being the healthiest dude, right? If you weigh 200 pounds and all your friends weigh 300, you're pretty comfortable. So the biggest thing if you want to improve your life, if you want to improve your health, if you want to improve your finances, the one best thing that you can do is get around people who make you feel uncomfortable because they're healthier than you. They have more money than you. They're further along in life than you. They have more knowledge than you. It's uncomfortable being in that environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have a lot of, you're self-conscious, like, oh man, I don't belong here. But let's, use another investment analogy. You never want to be the most expensive house on the block. Why?
You only have one way to go.
Exactly. All the houses around you are going to pull your property value down. So when you go to sell your house, even though you may have $1 million house, if all the houses around you are $500,000, you're only going to get $700 for your house.
Wow.
Right? Now, if you have a $500,000 house and every house surrounding you is $1 million plus, now when you go to sell it, your property value is inflated, and that same house you'll be able to get $700,000-800,000 for it. Your life is no different.
That's very true. That was that's crucial that you put peer group as number one. That was a lesson that I had to learn. And when you get certain groups have different pools. Like you said, when you're the $500 house on the $1 million block, they have a pool where they're going to pull you up. Versus when you're the $1 million house and all the other houses are worth $250,000, they have a different pool. They have a pull down. So a lot of times, it's sad to say this, but it's the truth. Some people, even if you get around certain people, they're not even trying to pull you up. They inadvertently pull you up. Like in real estate, nobody's trying to raise the value of your house. They inadvertently, just by being in their presence and seeing what they do and hearing them speak and having these conversations with them, they inadvertently drop knowledge and jewels that you're like, wow, I didn't think about that. This guy slowly pulled me up, right? Versus the other people around you, you're the smartest guy in the room. Everybody looks up to you. You are the holy grail. How can you grow in that situation? How can you further yourself? How can you grow or whatever? And then at different times, a lot of times people have a different pull. So that's very, crucial that you said peer group. Now, outside of peer group, is there another one that you could think of that you'd like, you know what? Because, pretty much you were saying the number one is networks. So, changing that network and stuff like that.
So the number two, which actually is number one, is clarity. Clarity on what you want. That's actually number one, because changing your peer group really comes after being clear on what you want. If you don't want anything, if you don't want to make money, if you don't want to own a business, then why be around business owners? If you don't want to improve your health, if you don't want to be in the healthiest state that you can be, why be around people that are healthy? There's no need to be uncomfortable if you don't have clarity on what it is that you want, or if you don't really have high goals. There are some people out there that are just happy where they are. They don't want to advance in any aspect of their life. I wouldn't suggest that they change their peer group, right? So clarity really is the first thing. A lot of the times that if I look back in my life and I'm like, man, those 5 years, I didn't really make much progress. I just kind of wasted it or whatever. Or it always were periods of time in my life that I wasn't clear on what I wanted. And so getting clear on what you want in all aspects of your life is crucial. Because as soon as you get clear, then you know what you got to do.
That's true. And that's the step one that you have. Clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because you gotta think of that vision of, hey, this is what I want to have, and and to making your health a priority because you are the most valuable asset. And I guess a good way to look at it is saying that if you were to die today, where will your business be tomorrow?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Can someone pick it up and run with it? Is it self-sustainable? Is it, if you took yourself out of the equation, and I know it's a hard thing is, when you start out to get to that point, you have to work your way into that point to where it can become self-sustainable.
Right. But most people start a business. Most people start a business and they don't have anything in their vision statement or their mission statement that includes that. So it's not even a part of their vision to make it self-sustainable. Because again, a lot of people are ego driven. So they want everything dependent on them because it builds their ego. They're the most important aspect of the business. They don't want to share their trade secrets with anyone. They want to hold the recipe close to their chest. So if they die, their business dies with them.
Okay.
But if you're trying to create a sellable asset or an asset that is going to grow and thrive, whether you're here or not, you have to get clear on that because that's a whole different direction.
Now, on top of that, you burn yourself out. If you got to,
absolutely.
I think your step two was, having the leveraging yourself. And I go back and I think of the barbershop because I met plenty of barbers, and that's the one thing where they say, hey, if I'm not cutting hair, I don't make money. If I get sick or I hurt my leg or something, I can't stand up and cut hair, I don't make money. And, one of the, you can see one of the easiest ways, not the easiest ways, but one of the ways to leverage yourself is to have other barbers in your shop and stuff like that or whatever, to where if you had to take a day off, money can still be made, things can still go without you having to be there cutting hair yourself. So it's one of those things that it takes, time to, leverage yourself, being clear on what you want to then turn around and then leveraging yourself to say, hey, now I have the skill, but what if I'm not cutting hair? Can I actually make money? Can I put other things out? So, and that's one of the situations that, you learn with, changing your peer group. It's not very easy to do. Everybody wants that good peer group, but not everybody will allow you to be in their peer group. So you have to branch out and grow yourself into that group, I would say. To say, hey, this guy can do.
I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree. Okay. I think that you can be you can be a part of any peer group that you want as long as you're adding value.
Got it.
As long as you're adding value.
That's true.
Yeah. You can be a part of any peer group that you want. What keeps us out of peer groups is our own mentality, our own lack of self-worth. Oh, I don't belong in around these people. Like I said, elevating your game is uncomfortable. Being around people that have more money than you, smarter than you, I'm not going to say smarter than you, but have more knowledge than you, playing a bigger game than you, it's uncomfortable. So we tell ourselves that we don't belong.
Like for a prime example, like you said, right? Like you just said, the key to it is adding the value. And one of the things that I noticed is where, like you said, when you want to get into certain groups, you have to bring something to the table, add value to them or something like that. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand. They say, hey, well, I reached out to this person. I wanted to do this and I wanted to get this and get that. And that person didn't help me. And it's just something that I noticed, as you move up the chain and you move up the ladder, you get more people wanting things, but the list of people that are really trying to bring something to you gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And one of the things is that I try to tell people, like, hey, get onto the list of where you're going to add value. You can do something for this person. And that's usually when you get the biggest response, is when you're adding value. Instead of just saying, hey, can I get this or can I get, everybody's doing that.
Yeah. So, if you think about the hardest peer group for a black male to get into, like, what comes to mind?
I don't know why I just thought of golf for some reason, because I don't see too many black males play golf. Well, not play golf, but they're extremely well at it.
That's exactly the first thing that came to my mind. Golf country clubs. Right?
Exactly.
Golf country clubs.
It's true.
So how in the world did Tiger Woods get in to, be a person where he can get into any golf country club and get a membership in the world? How'd that happen?
Because he's good.
He brings value to the game. He brings value to the game.
Okay, so you're saying, so the biggest thing with increasing your network and changing your peer group, find a way to bring value to that group, essentially.
Exactly. Because then you cannot be denied.
Got it.
But the first person that Tiger had to convince was himself. That's the hardest person to convince.
Mm-hmm. And I tell them, like, like you said, it's not too many people that look at it and say, how can I add value to this group? Because as you're moving along, some people say, wow, look at this guy, best-selling author, he's doing this, he's that. What can I do for him? How can I bring value to him? So some people just, they immediately jump on it. He has everything. Why do I need to go out and support this person? And look, he's on TV, he's on this show, he's on that show, he's done this, he's done that. So they have everything. I can't do anything for them. So they think of ways to let me, they don't try to think of ways to take from you, but they go and they ask. They don't think they can bring value a lot of times. So they say, well, this person has everything. They have millions of dollars. They are this, they are that, they are that. What is little old me? What can I do for them? So they don't look at ways to bring actual value to the situation, because a lot of them, like you said, they don't convince themselves that they can do something for a Tiger Woods, for example. What can I do for him?
Right.
I can't do anything for that guy. He has everything.
Right. So the first thing to do is to ask the question sincerely, where you actually will get an answer. So most people say, "Oh, well, what can I offer? He has everything. There's nothing that I can offer." Just like you said. That's asking yourself with you already have the answer in your head. Nothing. Well, what can I do for him? Nothing, obviously, right? If you ask yourself in a different way, what can I do for him? You see the difference? What can I do for him? Well, one thing that I can do is he probably is, like, let me just use myself, for example. You did it with me. You didn't say, oh man, what can a guy, what can I do for you? You have everything. You didn't come at me like that. You say, hey, I got a podcast. I would love to have you on the podcast, get your message out, expose you to some new people. Would you be interested in being on my podcast? Yeah. You're adding value, right? And so you just ask anyone what they need. If you are into sports and you want to get around a professional sport. So let's use golf, for instance. Most professional golf people, when they wanted to be around other professionals before they got good, they were caddies. What does every professional golf player need? Someone to carry their clubs. Right? And so you just ask yourself, what can I do? What is it that I can do? If you want to be a barber, you haven't got your barber's license yet. But you know that you want to own a barbershop. You don't want to just be a barber. What do? Sweep hair. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Everyone needs something. but you just want to get around that person.
And that was like you said, even about, you and I's situation. It was just that with myself, it took growing and maturity to get to that point to say, hey, you got to be able to add value to situations. When you have something of value, you need to share it with other people to say, hey, this is what I can do for you. Right?
Absolutely.
And instead of looking at it as, I'm like, hey, it may not be much, it may not be, X, Y, Z, but hey, this is what I can do. Right. And I learned you get a bigger response from people when you say, hey, this is what I can do for you versus can I have, or let me get, or let me keep this, or let me put this, or
everyone
let me take
has
this from
their
you.
hand out. Right. Everyone has their hand out. When you showed me what you do with podcasts, when you showed me your graphics people, when you showed me your videos, and when you told me that you live in Hawaii and your crew's in Atlanta, I'm like, damn, I don't have none of that. I need to talk to this guy. I need to see how he's doing this, da 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 da. But we take all that for granted. We're so busy looking at other people that we don't see our own value.
That's true. That's very true. And that's
this guy has a book. He has a game. He's like teaching his kids how his kids are gonna like grow up knowing all this stuff. Now I got to get on my game. How in the world I can't get my kids to even like understand the value of $1? How in the world I need to get that game? It's like all this. You have no idea of how valuable your stuff is when you're around it every day and you just take it for granted. You know what I mean? But no one has everything. Everyone has blind spots. Everyone has weak spots. And what you are great at, a person that you want to get around and get in their peer group, they may suck at. That's where I was like, man, what am I great at? What's my genius zone? If your genius zone is organization, man, how many business people could benefit from someone who can get them more organized? My genius zone is health, vitality. I can get anyone into their ideal body weight. I can double their energy. I can make it easy for them. If I want to get around high level executives, how easy is it for me to be able to do that? Because I can just offer them something that they are not great at. And so you don't have to be a high level person to get around high level people. You just have to ask yourself, what am I great at? And how can I help others in what I'm great at? How can I help this person in what I'm great at? A high school kid could be a genius at social media. Do you think that a 55-year-old high-level executive running a company is a genius at social media? No. And they probably hate social media because it's taken over and they don't know anything about it. A high school kid could easily walk in and say, listen, I will do all your social media for free. I know everything about it. I love it. If you just let me hang out with you. Done. Hell, I would take it. If there's any high school students out there right now, I'd take anybody up on that
offer. And then, and it shows, I've been around, a lot of different, CEOs and execs, and a lot of them I see, the fear that I've seen with them is that because they don't understand or really know, especially in the financial world and financial industry, I just turned 32, but a lot of people, even on Wall Street, they don't know what social media really is. They don't know how to embrace it on the financial aspect. So a lot of them just stand clear. And I think they're making the biggest mistake because it's that I'm like, this is the future. This is where we're going. And a lot of them say, well, that's young people stuff. They're in their 20s and those are people in their 30s. I'm like, hey, in the next 5 or 10 years, these people are going to be your target groups. Whether you realize it or not, because these people are slowly moving from high school and they're going to work their way into the middle class to upper class and so on and what have you. So it's the new thing now we Google everything. If you're not Googleable, we don't believe it. It doesn't exist. It's not
Mm-hmm.
real. Kids are being raised on Facebook. People have been raised on Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat and YouTube and stuff like that. And you're noticing the shift is now instead of celebrities going to different major platforms, instead of going to big networks, a lot of them are stopping my YouTube channels. And
Mm-hmm.
instead of going to big radio, people are stopping my podcasts now. So it's a big, shift is going on that, a lot of people don't realize that, hey, and I see at the high level of, these big CEOs, they come in, they grab young people and they teach them like, hey, this is the way I came up. We put this in the mail, we lick the stamp and, then blah, blah, this how we, and you're not realizing that the new generation, nobody's even really checking the mail anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's paying their bills online. They're only
Right.
looking at everybody's paying their bills online. The only thing they may go to the mail for is when they're really looking for something from Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
The largest retailer we have right now doesn't even have a store, which is Amazon. Uber, the largest taxi cab service, doesn't even have a car.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big shift that's going on that I see that, hey, a lot of people that say, oh, I don't know what that is, or they just shy away from it. But it's the new big bubble that's growing and growing and it's bigger and bigger to where some people, all they are is a Facebook page. But they can reach
Mm-hmm.
thousands of people across the world, off of a Facebook page, a YouTube channel, and Twitter and Instagram, stuff like that or whatever. I'm prime example. The people that have tuned in and that turned in, all I am is social media, from YouTube to podcasts to cartoons to, Instagram. All that stuff is just completely social media, just in repetition to where people that tune in today and tomorrow and new people that's already been following me to people that have been, all of the good stuff, it comes straight off of just utilizing social media over and over. But
Mm-hmm.
and that's a great thing that you said, where you look at it and you just say, hey, this is what I can do for this company, and it's been times I sit inside of companies and they're sitting back and, I'm like, wow, you guys don't have any social media. You guys don't have anything with the new technology that's out, all these recruiting ways that you guys are recruiting. You guys would have never met nobody like me because I don't check that. I don't do that. I don't do this. I don't do that. Well, we're trying to target people here. I'm like, guess what? People like me are slowly getting into that target range. And when we get here in a year or two, or 3 or 4 or 5 years, you're not going to be able to reach them with the current methods that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody nowadays are, you give them a business card, they're going to Google you. That's just how it is. Well, who is this guy? It's some people now, they see your artwork and they see your flyer, they're going to say, who is he? I'm going to Google Dr. Lionel King. Oh, wow, this guy's a real deal. He has some cool stuff. Look at his book. Look at this. That's just how we live nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
When we look to see things, you having, instead of going to magazines, people are going to social media. Hey, I want to be featured on this social media page, and stuff like that or whatever. But that's just a different dynamic. But that's a great thing that you said with, it's kids that sit on Snapchat all day or Instagram and Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the other stuff like that. And that they are a true asset to a new company or old company, a company that's been around for, the last 50, 100 years, they can bring that much, value to them, so that's a great way to do it. And that took maturity to get to that point to say, hey, Prince, you could bring value to someone by opening up your platform, bringing new people in and reaching out and grabbing new people that, it can bring value to other people, and these people will have you around because they can see, hey, this guy, he can actually do something, for me. He can help me, he can help branch me out to whole different people, So that's a great tool as well. But yeah, that was some great stuff you said about starting your companies to, it was even with your flyer, it hadn't even went public yet. It was just some people I sent it to privately, And there was some people that I know that are in, medical school and stuff like that. And it's like, wow, I really want to hear from him. I really want to hear what he has to say on this. Or I really want to hear what he has to say on that, or whatever. And I'm like, well, I think he'd be, great to listen to. So, but is there anything out there that you would want to put out there, something that, that we didn't touch on that you would like to say?
Not really. I mean, we touched on a lot. If people want to connect with me, they can Google me. All my personal information, if they Google me, my information is out there. They can email me. I have my personal email. When you Google me, my personal email will pop up. They can go to LionelKingMD.com. That's LionelKingMD.com. Check out my website. Look me up on YouTube. I have a whole bunch of videos on YouTube. So I'm accessible. So if there's anyone out there listening that wants to connect with me, they could friend me on Facebook. I am very accessible. So that's about it.
Okay. So, I want to say, thank you for coming on to the Investor Show. It was a great time having you. I hope the people enjoy the podcast. They can download it and hear it whenever they want to. It'll be featured on our YouTube channel as well. All of the good stuff on our different social media platforms. So people who just want to chime in and listen to, the health side of the house and also the entrepreneur side of the house. And they want to reach you, they know how to get in contact with Dr. Lionel King. Check him out on Google, YouTube, all of the great stuff. And thanks for coming on. Thanks for being here. It was definitely a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. You take care.
All right. You too.
Okay.
Thanks. All right.
Thanks for listening to the Simple Investor Radio Show with author and investment advisor, Prince Dykes.